Hi there. So today I am going to be speaking with a phenomenal software engineer. His name is Tega. Tega currently works as a staff software engineer in one of the leading logistics company in Europe. He's going to be sharing tips on how he has grown in a software engineering career journey. Also tips on how you can land an international job, maybe from Nigeria, from Africa, or wherever, and land an international job in Europe or in the United States. And at the end of this video, he has some very special advice and tips for people just starting out as software engineers and also people who are already software engineers. So don't miss the end of this video. My name is Taiwo Owoshaki and welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, I beg your pardon, and comment, and of course engage with this post as it will help us to reach more people. And definitely, you know that the values, the contents that I put out are very valuable. Tega will join us in a minute or less. So, okay, thank you so much, Tega, for joining me today. And so we can already go straight into it. I have introduced you from my own perspective or from my own side. So let's hear from you. Can you introduce yourself? Yeah, what you do, how long you've been doing it? Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Taiwo, for the introduction. My name is Tega, as you've said before. I am a staff software engineer. And yes, I have been working as a software engineer for the past 10 plus years now. So that's a very brief introduction. Yes, I guess I would have time to expatiate further later. Yeah, but
Yes.
that's what I do.
Okay, thank you. So I think the first question is how did you get into software engineering? Can you just give us like a brief intro into how you became a software engineer and what the journey has looked like for you so far?
Yeah, I would say the journey started back in university. I was fortunate to attend the prestigious University of Ibadan. I,
Hmm.
I studied computer
I'm not going to
science.
say anything. I'll wait for my OAU folks to comment
Yeah,
in the leave comments in the comment section. Sorry, can go ahead.
yeah, all good. I mean, I have to mention that because that's where it all started, right? That's why I found my passion for software engineering. And professionally, I my first stint at a professional software engineering job was during my internship in 2010. I was more of a generalist then, so trying to lay my hands on everything fancy, front end, back end, mobile, just do everything doable, right? Yeah, after that, the next stint I had at being a professional software engineer was during I think it was my NYSC. After my NYSC, I worked at an agricultural firm, IITA. I must confess, I didn't really do much there, as they already had like established processes and were more of plain support roles. After this stint, I got a job at KPMG, where I did not do that much software engineering. I was doing a lot of things related to software in the banking sector, and this was not what I really wanted. So that was why, when the opportunity came for me to switch to Konga Online Shopping Limited, that's the largest e-commerce software company back in Nigeria. Then I don't know about now. I had to grab that opportunity with both hands, and I worked at Konga for almost 2 years before I moved to Europe to study and then switch back to software engineering.
Okay, so that means if I understand what you said, well, you moved to Europe for studies and then you continued as a software engineer down the line.
That's correct. While I was studying, I was also working remotely for a Nigerian software engineering company. And after my master's, I got a job as a software engineering intern because it was part of the requirements of my master's program to have like an internship experience before switching professionally. So that was how I, just continued.
Okay, so great, so good. And how has it been for you so far, working as a software engineer? I know this is like out of the box question that we did not prepare for, but if you're comfortable with saying that,
I
what's the
mean,
challenges
it's
you've had to deal with working internationally as a software engineer?
it's a perfect question actually. I mean, the challenges working internationally are the same as the challenges working locally. Software engineering is kind of the same everywhere. The only difference is just the workplace. The workplace here is different from the workplace back in Nigeria, and we will not go into that. But yeah, I would just like to make clear that the challenges are basically the same. How quickly do you evolve from one technology to another? How quickly do you align with the direction the company is going with? I mean, you're building something today and tomorrow it's no longer necessary to build that. You're switching to something else because the direction of the company has changed. So this has been one of the things that I have learned to to deal with. Don't get too attached to certain projects you're working on because the company could just tell you this is no longer relevant. And if you're too attached, you feel like you've been let down. There's this passion that comes with something new and something shiny. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't turn out to be what you want, then you might feel bad. But yeah, these are some of the things that you would have to grow to learn how to adjust and adapt to as you progress.
Oh, super. Thank you for sharing. So my next question is, I would say let's track back since you said you came to study and then you got an opportunity as an intern,
Yeah,
for a software engineer intern. What year was this? And can you recall?
yeah. That this was back in 2016.
Okay.
Yes, 26. No, actually, it's 2015. Yeah.
2015. So, can you share how you landed this job? So, how did you get this opportunity? Did this opportunity just literally walk into your hands? How did you get it? And what was the challenge finding it? How did you manage to nail this opportunity?
Yeah. Just for clarification, I got an opportunity to go study in France, not to go do like an engineering role, right? So it was after my study that I got a software engineering internship job. And how did I get this opportunity? Let me also mention at this point that there is this notion that you don't really need to have good grades to be great at what you do. That's true, but that's not the full story. Um, Good grades gives you opportunities that would be otherwise denied to others. To explain a bit more, the master's opportunity I got was fully sponsored by Total. That's the oil and gas company in Nigeria that has a headquarters in France, and that's why we had to go to France. About 11 of us, and most of us did not apply for this role. It was just basically they just picked out students from universities across Nigeria and invited them for an interview. So if I did not have good grades, I would not have had that opportunity. That
So,
is not to say
I'm hearing good grades. Did you finish with the first class?
yes, but that's not the focus of the talk.
That's good. That's good. That's good to know. I mean, of course, this means that there is also a background story to this, right? It also came from, being studious right from the university. But let's go on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a different story entirely. But that is not to say that if I had not gotten good grades, I wouldn't have been in Europe right now. We don't know what would have happened. I have a couple of friends that are here right now, and they didn't go through this route. They didn't get good grades, but they are doing excellently well. I'm just saying that that gives you some opportunities that others might not get, right? So the routes through which I got to Europe is not what majority of my peers came with, and that also has its own advantages as well. So, but yeah, this is how I got that opportunity to do a
Okay.
master's.
And so we're talking about how you then landed the job during your master's.
Yes, interestingly, after my master's in France and I needed to get an internship role, funny enough, while I was at Conga in Nigeria, I was a software engineer, and towards the last 3 months, I had to play like a software engineering manager role because I think my manager then left, and I had to just step in. So imagine someone that has some engineering experience looking for an internship role. It was really crazy. I had to
Wow.
do a lot of adjustments to my CV because most
Wow.
of the companies did not want to employ someone that had that much experience to be an intern, right?
Mm.
So it took quite a while to get an internship role, as I would say.
Yeah, because I mean, if I understand what you're saying, right, it means that even though you had relevant experiences that could position you for a more permanent role or for a more advanced role, you had to opt for an intern at that point in time, right?
That's correct. I had companies telling me they can't employ me as an intern; they can only give me full-time roles, full-time positions. It was funny then, and it was really annoying because I just needed to do this to get to make sure my master's program was complete, right? So this felt like an obstacle that I couldn't figure out how to solve. Yeah, but
Yeah.
luckily I this 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 sorted out itself after a while.
So, what would you say the interview process was like for you to get that internship at the time? I privy to know that you also now currently interview people for and software engineering roles as well. So, what are some like tips that you can share with someone that's looking to land and to get a job um, as an intern or even for a more advanced role that could be helpful, for their interviews or for their application?
Well, one of the things I try to do then, number one rule, I don't lie on my CV. I can take things out of my CV, but I don't add things to my CV. If I put something on my CV, it means I have that experience, right?
Yeah.
Uh, there are different school of thoughts. Some people say just put it there after the interview, you go and learn how to do it. That's their business. I don't. I try to be very straightforward. In my case, I had to make sure my CV matches the role I was applying for. So I'm going for an internship role. I took out every experience that made me look like I was too big to be an intern. So, for example, the entry that says acting software engineering manager for 3 months, I took that out because that's not relevant to being an intern, right? So
Yeah.
tailor your CV to the role you're applying to.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not really good at explaining this. I'll just recommend a podcast right now. It's called Dear Candidates.
Yeah.
If you listen to this podcast, you will learn about tackling interview. But from a software engineering perspective, just make sure that the job function you're applying for, you have the relevant experience that is required of that role. You know, the technical experience, the if there's number of years of experience as well, you have at least something that is commensurate to that before you start your application process. And also have an open mindset. Being rejected for a role, it's not the end of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it doesn't even speak to how competent you are. It
Yeah.
just says the person that interviewed you did not get the best from you at that point. That's all it says. Just move
Yeah,
on to the
that's
next.
an interesting perspective. The person that interviewed you at that point did not get. Yeah. I think that's something to note. Thank you for that hot quote because I just learned that now
Okay.
personally. So, if you were to share some tips that has helped you to grow, because of course I know that you are not where you were in 2015. You've definitely grown, and the role that you are now currently also speaks for that as well. What are some things or tips that has helped you to grow so far in your career to this point?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. So number one, honestly, I wish I was at the top of my game right now. I'm trying to get there, but the things that I do, number one, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, right? Irrespective of their level. Or, for example, if you're working in a place and you are a senior software engineer and you have a junior software engineer that's just joined, and the person is very very smart. The person does not have that. The person is not work smart but technically smart. Pick up the technical smartness from that person, right? So if you are always around people that you are better than, there really isn't anything that will push or motivate you. That's not really a good place to be. I have lots of smart friends, but there are too many to count. And each time I am around them, I try to get the best I can from them. That's one thing I do. Number two, you should try to stay curious. We're in a software engineering world where things are constantly evolving and things are constantly changing, right? Stay curious, know about the new technologies that are there. You don't have to jump on all of them, but just have an idea of how these things work, how relevant they are, for example, how relevant they are to what you currently do. Also, try to make sure that your knowledge is not limited to just your job, right? So everything you know should not be just about your job. You should know things about things that are not your job. You should try to um, ca- try to expand your horizon, if I may use that way. A good way to explain would be this: if you have a problem to solve, even at your job, and you found a solution to that problem, think about alternatives as well and compare those alternatives with the solution you chose. These are
Mm.
would help you, to stay relevant and also grow as you progress with your career. And also ask questions. I am one of those that I love asking questions. I don't care how dumb they sound. I could be in a meeting and they're talking about something and if they just mention an abbreviation that is known to everybody, I would ask what's the meaning. You can laugh at me, that's your problem. But I did not know the meaning. I'm going to ask. So ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. Very important.
Thank you. I was just thinking about times where maybe I was in a meeting and there was an abbreviation, and I was just like, I'm just going to try to find the the abbreviation and not asked. Maybe I could have asked. Thank
Also, it
you.
depends. Yeah. It also
Yeah.
depends on the meeting, right? Some meetings you don't want to like interrupt people, or
Mm,
there are some where you can just go ahead and ask those questions and it should work. Need to
okay.
plug in my computer. Sorry.
Yes, you're fair.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I think I have three more questions. The next question would be, if you could go back in time in your career journey, what will you change or do differently?
That's interesting. If I could go back, a lot actually, but I think maybe the first would be to have looked for a mentor while I was still starting off. The roles mentoring play in tech nowadays is really important, right? While I was starting off, I was just jumping from here to there. For example, I joined KPMG and I only stayed there for 6 months. And this is a decision that I think I didn't need to have taken then. I joined KPMG for one of the obvious reasons. After school, you want a job. You just want a job to keep body hands together. And KPMG was a big company then, so it made sense to join. But the job was not what I wanted, so I had to leave immediately. I saw something that was really, really appealing to me. So yeah, look for a mentor that you can talk to about making career decisions, that you can bounce off thoughts that you have, get their perspective. They've been there, they know what the market is like, they know what the job is like. They can give you tips that will make you help make better decisions.
Yeah.
Number two, I am one of those that I said earlier on that you should watch the way technologies evolve and try to embrace them. This is something I didn't used to do at the beginning. I got so attached to technologies and I would just stay there. I just try to be a master at this framework, and something else comes out. I'm not really that curious. That's not great. One should actually try to move as technology evolves. Right now, we're in a world where artificial intelligence is changing everything. Have you started looking at how artificial intelligence can make your job easier and much smoother? Much smoother than what it currently is. So try to just basically try to go with the flow of tech. Don't get too deep into it. A lot of times, new tech is just distraction, but that should not push you away from new tech. You should be curious enough to figure out what this new thing is, how can it be relevant to what I'm doing right now, and when that opportunity comes for you to apply that, it will not be a lot of learning for you, right? So I would have reduced my slackness if I would use that word. Thirdly, yeah, this might sound like a joke, but it's a technical thing. But I would have wished that I worked with Java professionally. Java was my first love back in university. I really loved the language, but I never actually got the opportunity to use it professionally. So up until now, I've not actually written a Java code that got to production. Yeah, maybe when I wrote one crappy mobile app back in the days, yeah, but truly substantial. I feel like I would have loved to do that. And also, one thing I would have done, I would have asked for more money when I joined Conga.
Oh, really? So maybe if you had a mentor, the mentor would have been able to tell you that, hey, this company, this is the amount or this is the salary base you should at least aim for.
They
Interesting.
had money. They had money then. I did not know.
Oh no. Wow. Thank you for sharing. I just want to also buttress some of the points you made because you mentioned mentorship. And I also know that mentorship is definitely one of the ways that I have grown. And so I can recommend a mentorship platform for you guys watching, and that's techstarter.com. I also know that Tega is one of the mentors on this platform. So if you actually want to be mentored by
Yeah.
Tega, you can go to techstarter.com, techstarta.com, and then just ask that he mentors you and all of the other itineraries. Just follow the steps there highlighted. So you also mentioned that you write Java. You wish that you wrote Java professionally then, right? Since you mentioned language, this is a question I just thought about now. What are like the top three? languages that a software engineer or someone that is looking to work in an international space as a software engineer, what languages would you say they should definitely be, they should aim for? I know that it's different for different companies, but what are the most common languages?
You want to put me in trouble. Language fights. We have language fight in software, just like we have
But this is
goats
your
fight in
opinion.
football.
Doesn't mean that it's in your
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I mean, that's all of these fights that I'm talking about is always opinions, right? But it still leads to fights. But honestly, being honest, the language that I've always asked beginners to focus on, which is very learning friendly, is Python.
Okay.
Um, I don't write Python professionally. I've used it, I've written it in production, but it's not my strongest language. But I know that for new learners, it's a good way to introduce people to programming. JavaScript is also good, but it gets to a stage where it becomes a bit complicated. So you could do that as well. Interestingly, when I was mentoring people in the past, I always used Java because that was where my strength, that was my strongest language back in the day. But I would not recommend that for someone who's just starting. And like you said, it also depends on the market right now. But the reason why I would push Python and JavaScript is mostly because Python, like I said, is very, very friendly to teach, friendly to learn. JavaScript because it's kind of it puts you everywhere. You have JavaScript for the front end, JavaScript for the back end, JavaScript for the mobile. So it's very, very ubiquitous. You can use it basically on all platforms. So when you learn JavaScript, you kind of place yourself in a position where you are employable across all of the facets of tech in terms of front end, back end, mobile, and all of that. So yeah, JavaScript, Python, I would recommend those, even though those are not the two languages I use
Yes.
mostly.
Okay, thank you. One, oh no, no, the question before the last is, what advice would you give to someone looking for an international opportunity? When I say international, I'm mostly specifying maybe Europe or United States. I know that you came through the study route or you got a job, while you were studying. But then for someone who just wants to land a job, and I also know that you have a lot of colleagues and friends who got jobs. From Nigeria and moved to Europe. So, what advice would you give based on all of this, experiences you've had, or that you're also privy to?
Yeah, sometimes it's sometimes hard to answer this question because I did not get the job while I was back in Nigeria, right? But I know a lot of people that did, and I've spoken with them. And one thing that I'm sure of is most of the people that got jobs here, this was not their first job. So they started small, they started locally. I've had talks with people and they just say, okay, I just finished school, I want to get a job in Europe. And I'm like, it's possible, but it's difficult, right? Nothing is impossible. You could just graduate and get a job in Europe. That's possible. I'm sure there are people that have done that, but that's not the likelihood that that would happen is kind of slim. So it makes more sense to start small. Look for a software engineering company in Nigeria. There are a couple of them. There are big ones there. There's Space Tag, there's Florida Wave, there's a lot of them right there, right? So start small, get some experience, and then start throwing your CV out there and start getting the feedback that would help you reshape yourself. Number two is if you're just starting out, it's good to kind of diversify, meaning generalize. Don't be too specific unless you're already sure that this is where my focus will be. I want to be a back-end engineer. I want to be a front-end engineer. I want to be a mobile engineer. If you could be a full stack engineer at the beginning, that's really great. It gives you more opportunities, right? So if you can do that at the start, that's great. If you're already growing in your career, then you start pivoting to something more specific. That's also good at the start. Maybe diversify a little more. Number three, very important. Don't get discouraged by rejections. I told you the story about when I was looking for my internship role, and this is someone who already had software engineering role back in Nigeria and has already worked remotely for. So I had the experience, right? I knew what I could do, but I got lots of rejections. At some point, I stopped tracking my application because it was very discouraging. But I've grown to know that even when you are the best of the best, you could apply to a company and you won't get the role. Like I always say, sometimes you get rejected not because you're not good enough, but because There was just no alignment between you and your interviewer. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's that you did not prepare enough. That also happens. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's because the interviewer did not align properly with you. I had an interview just last year. Usually I just do interviews, not because I'm looking for a job. I just want to be relevant. And it was really good. I was speaking with a guy. We were just smiling, talking about tech. And they just told me it didn't work out. I didn't feel bad because I felt I really enjoyed myself in the interview, but this guy probably did not enjoy me. And that's good. That's fine. Get the feedback from them if you can. I trade on that and get yourself better. And like I said before, subscribe to the Dear Candidate podcast. I'm saying this not because I know the owner, but because even myself that I wasn't looking for a job, I listened to it and it helped me think about ways of applying for jobs internationally. So if you haven't, check it out.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning their candidates again. I definitely recommend. And if you just, scroll through the past videos that we've put up before, that's one of the first videos, the second video we had, where I spoke with the founder. I can call her a founder, right, of their candidates, Tosin, where she gave highly important tips for, CV interviews, and all of that. So yes, you can go back and see some of the video, see the video that we made in the past. Thank you, Tega. And my final question is, I am a novice. I want to learn how to I want to learn how to write codes and also be able to, grow. Oh no, maybe I'm not a novice. I am a software engineer, but I'm just looking at how can I continue growing. Of course, I know you've mentioned curiosity and all of the things that worked for you, but if you could just, give some final advice on how someone who is feeling daunted or feeling like, oh, software engineering is just too challenging, I can't do this. What advice would you give to them, to, someone that wants to learn or someone that is just starting out?
Okay. The question is multi-level, so I want to try to answer them multi-level. So
Okay.
the first category, someone who wants to get into tech, software engineering in particular, and it becomes too daunting, right? This answer might not sit so well with some people, but it's the truth, right? You don't have to be a software engineer, and it's not the only it's not the best. I wouldn't say it's not the best job, but it's not the only job out there. You could be in tech and not be a software engineer. Software engineering is not just about tech. There are product managers, there are technical product managers as well. There are product designers. All these people work together to produce good products. So if you're trying your hands on tech, you've done all you can to be a software engineer, you try to write code, the code is not coding. um, it's not the end of the world, right? You can try something else. Trust me. I have a friend that tried out coding as well. It didn't work out. Person is now a product designer and doing amazingly well, doing great things, right? I know very, very smart product managers that are technical enough to understand what software engineers do, but just did not have that passion to write code, and they just decided to be technical, and they do their jobs very well. They're very, very happy about it. So that's the first category. Now, if you're just starting out and you're trying to learn coding and you want to know the best route to go through, like I said before, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Whatever you want to do, there are people that have done it before. Even at my level as a staff software engineer, I'm not a first staff software engineer. I have people that are principal engineers in my company that I look up to. Look for a mentor that you can ask questions that would guide you. If I want to learn something right now, I don't just go ahead and sometimes I just Google and I get. But most times I prefer to ask someone who is more senior to me and ask them, I want to learn this thing. Have you learned this thing before? What's the best path? You just find out that they will just because all the mistakes they made, they will tell you about it. You don't have to make those mistakes, right? You want to start learning and you pick up Java as your first language. You speak to your mentor tells you Java is great, but it's a little complex to learn as the first language, or maybe not. I don't know how Java is right now in the world, but back then it used to be my first language. Right now, it would never be my first language to learn, right? So talk to people that are smarter than you. Look for a mentor. Look for a mentorship platform. We just talked about Techstarter. Go up on Techstarter, sign up. The first few mentorship classes are free. You get one-on-one talks with your mentor. You get one-on-one advice. You know where to go. You know what to read, right? If you go online, you see a lot of resources, but which resource should you read first, right? You need someone that has that experience to guide you through this. So look for a mentor. And now the last part of the question is for people that are already software engineers and are looking to grow. I know I've said it before. It might look like it's cliche, but it's very important. You need to stay curious. You need to you need to not be comfortable. This is a mistake I've made in the past where I've been in a job where I know everything, like nothing new. Everything is just working. If they give me a task, it's easy, 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 easy. Once you're in that position, you're moving close to extinction. You need to challenge yourself and think of how you can become much more, how you can be challenged with new things that would really, really stress you and make you think more. So stay curious. Don't get distracted by new tech, but try to figure out what this new tech are doing, right? Also, don't forget the fundamentals. Most times we become software engineers and we forget the fundamentals, forget about our operating system, our algorithms, all of those database systems, all of the things we did in school, the binary and all that. Stay close to those things. You might not use them regularly, but stay close to them. Those are the things that distinguishes you from your peers as you begin to grow. Lastly, I would say, or second to the last, I would say, focus on good tech, but don't let good tech drive you. So when you start growing as a software engineer, you realize that these things that you call fancy and oh, this code is so clean, it's so fine, it's doing magic, it might not align with what the business wants, right? So you need to start talking to the business owners, who runs the company, what gives the company money. Is your code actually doing what the company expects, right? There's a way you would write code that it will become too technical and it's not really driving any innovation. You need to talk with your product managers, talk with your business people to really understand what they want and write your code to give them what they want, not what you want, right? There's a good mix of both. So write good tech, but make sure your good tech aligns with the product as well. This is how you grow as a software engineer. When you've known all the technical things, but you're not growing, it probably means that you're not pushing and driving value for your business. This is very important to grow. And lastly, I would like to quote my friend, my very good friend Michael Okuboyejo: embrace hard things. Some people see hard things and they're no longer happy. Hard things should make you happy because hard things will make you think. And the more you think, the smarter you get. So embrace hard things. And yeah, I hope these things would help. I'm also advising myself because sometimes I find myself being very lazy. So these are the things that I think would help you stay relevant and grow as you progress with your career.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tega. I mean, I have also learned a lot, even though I'm not a software engineer myself. And I'm sure that those tips are definitely going to be valuable for the people that it applies to. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, I hope that you also enjoyed this as much as I did. Please leave comments on topics that you like us to also address more in the future, and also let Tega know how this has helped you. Yeah, and remember to subscribe. Thank you so